Aloha, and how's it? Today we're talking all about how you can get new clients on LinkedIn. The mango way, of course. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? I've spent the better half of the past week harvesting and processing mangoes from our tree. So, if you look behind me, you kind of see, you'll notice that there are not as many mangoes left on the tree this week. We picked a lot. I've chopped at least a couple hundred mangoes and put them in our freezer. And my partner says I'm officially out of freezer space. So I have to leave a little bit of space for him, although I love my mangoes and I'll be eating them like 3 times a day for the next several months. So if you want to check out how I cut them, some people are curious. Look at my pinned reel on Instagram where I do a time lapse video of cubing 29 mangoes in 25 seconds. So it goes really fast, but that actually took me about an hour to do. So if you haven't checked out my podcast, the Mango Effect podcast, you'll get to hear an episode this week that's all about what it's like when it's mango season. So it's all about mangoes this week. And I talk about experiencing the sweet harvest, what it's like to pick mangoes, how that applies to life and business. So you'll enjoy that episode with all the juicy details. Can you tell? I like mango metaphors. Plus, there are another 23 episodes up there for you to listen to if you want to hear about all things lifestyle design, entrepreneurship, living in Hawaii, setting goals, becoming your own boss, and more. But now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Monday afternoons, if you're based in the US, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. Leave your questions below, and I will answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. Let's get right to today's topic. How do we actually make the transition from just getting popular on LinkedIn to actually getting new business opportunities? How do we get new clients? So, last week we talked about how to nail your LinkedIn profile headline so that you can attract more of the right clients, which leads us to today's topic and all things business growth. So, why is it that so many of us want people to come to us versus us making that first move and reaching out to them? Many of my coaching clients and group members have this really big mental block around making the first move on LinkedIn. You probably know what I'm talking about. It can feel very awkward to make that first move to reach out. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You're not sure exactly what you should say. You want to get into a business conversation, but it just feels plain awkward. So many of them spend months, if not years, posting content and hoping that they'll just pull in the right people into their network on LinkedIn like they do on other channels. The thing is, content is not the name of the game on LinkedIn. It is all about networking. And to network effectively, you actually need to make the first move on LinkedIn if you want to use LinkedIn to grow your business. Now, if you're just here on LinkedIn because you like it, it's fun, you like to post content, you like getting engagement, that's fine. This is probably not the show for you. But unless you're as famous as Ariana Huffington or Richard Branson, you are not going to automatically attract followers, no matter if you spend hours a day posting on LinkedIn and engaging in the newsfeed. If you've heard that content is the way to grow your business on LinkedIn, you are in for a sweet surprise today. You actually do not have to create a lot of content on LinkedIn to be successful and get into consistent conversations with your ideal customers or clients. So that's good news. For those of us who don't want to spend all day writing content, we don't have to. We can actually make money and get into new conversations that lead to new business for us. But you do have to get comfortable with making the first move on LinkedIn. So, what does this actually look like? In a nutshell, you're going to start sending connection invitations and reaching out for that virtual handshake. More on that in a moment. So, aloha, for those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. If you're catching this live or within a few days of it airing, the July cohort of the LinkedIn Accelerator is open. So exciting. So you have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, July 14th to claim your spot before the doors close. So be sure to save your spot because we are going to have an awesome 5 days of working together on your LinkedIn profile, growing your network, and touching on all the things you need to grow your business or land your dream job using LinkedIn. I will actually pop up on the screen the link in case you want to take a screenshot and come back to it later. I will also put it in the comments for those of you who are watching the replay. So I help professionals who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go-to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact on LinkedIn. In this live, we are going to talk about why only focusing on getting likes and engagement on LinkedIn is causing you to miss out on actually growing your business with valuable relationships that stem from LinkedIn, and how you can make the first move to grow your business, kickstart the right relationships, and generate more leads. So, are you ready? Let's do this. This is such a fun topic, one of my absolute favorites. Go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. One of the biggest mistakes I see many people make on LinkedIn is that they think by posting content, they are becoming a thought leader, which will soon translate to money in the bank. And if they post consistently enough, they will get new clients DMing them, asking for a discovery call. Womp womp. Okay, so basically, that is not how it happens. I'm not afraid to be the one to break it to you, but that's not how it works on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not like other social channels where you can create a reel or a TikTok that goes viral and gets you 1,000 leads overnight. On a side note, on that topic, does new business actually happen like this anyway? I find it a bit suspect when people claim they are getting business using these tactics on the Instagrams, on the TikToks, but they equate new business to the number of views, followers, or emails on a list somewhere. So I'm sorry, but that is not revenue. When what we are talking about today is revenue, like clients that convert to new business to revenue for you, for your business. So, in my humble opinion, new business equals the number of new clients or the amount of revenue you are generating this week, this month, this quarter, this year. And a lot of times we get sidetracked on social channels thinking, oh, well, this is just contributing to traffic, which hopefully will convert. They'll get on my list. I'll kind of warm them up. And then, I'll have all this money coming in from all these clients who want to work with me. Well, I have an opinion on that too. Inbound is great. And I was actually just talking to one of my coaching clients this week about that very thing. She has spent a good amount of time creating amazing content, podcast, lots of valuable stuff, lots of inbound stuff where she can nurture people that are on her list. She is doing all of the right content things, but she came to me, she's like, Mindy, you know what? I want to get my business to that $500,000 mark and that $1,000,000 mark. And what I am doing right now is not going to get me there. If I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to stay at this same revenue rate. I have to do something different. And we got into the conversation around exactly what we're talking about today, outbound. I'm like, are you doing any outbound? No, I'm not exactly sure what to say. I'm like, okay, well, that is the missing piece. Like inbound works fantastic when you do have a solid outbound strategy. So if you're unfamiliar with the terms inbound and outbound, inbound means that people are actually discovering your content and they're coming to you from some type of traffic, a piece of content somewhere, getting on your list, maybe seeing a reel or an Instagram or an ad. That is all inbound. Outbound is when you actually are reaching out to people. So you are sending a message, you are emailing them, you are sending them a DM, you are doing something proactively, especially on the one-to-one front, that is outbound. So you are reaching out to talk to people, to sell, to build relationships, of course, because it's not just about being salesy or spammy, but you are intentionally doing outbound to generate revenue for your business. You need a combination of both. And that is one of the biggest problems I see with a lot of the solopreneurs, with a lot of the one man, one woman businesses that come to me and are like, Mindy, when does this actually pay off? And I said, you're just doing content. It's not going to pay off. You're going to be posting content for years before you're actually going to get revenue. So if you need clients now, you have to do outbound. But there is a really good way to do it, and there are some not so good ways to do it. So we're going to talk about that today. The easiest way to measure your leading revenue indicators for most of the clients I work with who have that relationship based business. So if getting clients is based on people having that relationship with you, LinkedIn is a great place for that because you can build your trust and credibility. And if you have a sales process that relies on you being that salesperson, how many conversations you are having with your ideal clients every week and month is one of the most important benchmarks that you need to write down. So write this down. You need to know how many conversations you need to have with your ideal clients every week and every month to generate the amount of revenue that you need. So why aren't we tracking the number of sales focused conversations we have each week or month? This is really the leading indicator for how much revenue we will make. And it's not at all dependent on how popular we are on LinkedIn. Who cares how many followers you have? If you are not getting business, I don't care if you have 10,000 plus followers and people engage with your content. A lot of them come to me saying, Mindy, help. I don't want to tell anybody this because I'm so embarrassed. They think I'm making a ton of money because I have, tens of thousands of followers, but I cannot convert them into leads. So, for example, I have a number of clients who rarely post on LinkedIn. So, some only post once a month. Seriously, once a month. And they have multiple 6 or 7 figure businesses because they prioritize their relationships with the people inside their LinkedIn networks over the content that they post. So if they are like, Mindy, I've got X number of hours to spend on LinkedIn and business development this week, where should I spend it? I'm going to say probably at least 90% of it should be spent in your DMs and really focus on relationships and engaging with the people who you can help and who can help you grow your business. So these clients would rather post less frequently on LinkedIn and have more time to spend DMing, reaching out to potential clients, having conversations with potential partners and customers than wasting time on posting content and hanging out in their newsfeed. So if you've wanted a good reason not to hang out in your newsfeed and post content, I'm giving you one. Spend time developing relationships. If you are a newer business owner and you don't have a social media marketing assistant, you're doing this all by yourself, maybe you have a virtual assistant helping you, you should be posting a maximum of 2 to 3 times per week. That's a maximum. I would not even recommend that to most people unless they have a ton of content and it doesn't take them that long. So for those of you who can write up marketing copy really easily, that may not be a big deal. But for a lot of the people I work with, content can take way too much time. The majority of your time would be better spent on identifying and reaching out to get into back and forth with people who can help you get your revenue goals. All right. So I know LinkedIn is not just about money, but all conversations on LinkedIn should lead to revenue or opportunity for you in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, why are you on LinkedIn? Is it to feel good, to get your dopamine hits? You can have much more fun on TikTok and Instagram. I'm just saying. Okay. So if you are on LinkedIn and you are spending time here, you are here with an intention. You are laser focused. You are here to develop relationships that lead to revenue for you and also to building that goodwill, building that trust, building that credibility. So I am not saying that relationships don't matter. As I've talked about the importance of relationship building many times on Mondays with Mindy, like I believe in the power of relationships. But what I am saying is that the ratio of the time that you spend on LinkedIn should lead to growing your business, getting into conversations with the people who matter, and networking with the right intention. Intention is the key here. You don't just network to get more people inside your network. You are networking with people who are a good fit, mutual. It's mutual. Like it's a good fit for them and it's a good fit for you. So if you are not able to attribute any revenue or new opportunities from your efforts on LinkedIn, if you cannot look at LinkedIn and say, I closed that deal because of a conversation that started on LinkedIn, or I closed that deal because somebody referred me. Oh, and yeah, they did come from my LinkedIn network. Then you are doing something wrong. It is that simple. You should be generating a percentage of revenue every single month from LinkedIn. Like that is it. And I am like dead set on that because it is so important. And it is a missing piece in so many business owners. I would say their array of tools and how they're getting new business. They just don't know how to do this. So, we are going to talk about what you can do differently today to change all of that. So, how do you actually get into LinkedIn conversations? So, if you are struggling with what to say to that perfect fit client, that is actually a really good thing. And I tell people, and I coach, if you're having a hard time figuring out what the best approach is for a particular client or a certain type of avatar that you have, that's great. That means you are actually thinking about how it's going to be received. And that means your message is going to be better than somebody who just doesn't care. If you have that feeling like, Mindy, just give me a template, I don't care, you're talking to the wrong person. You can Google and find all sorts of templates online that'll tell you the best connection invitation. But when you actually sit and think and feel and really get into the mindset of your target audience, your connection invitation is going to be awesome. It is going to come out in a way that feels good to you and resonates, and also shows you understand your markets, your avatar, the people that you want to help. So the easy way out is to just adopt the tactics of the salesy, the pushy, aggressive sales types on LinkedIn. I've even seen some people on the border of coming across as really creepy. You may have received some of these too. When they come across like a stalker, I'm like, how did you actually find this out about me? That's probably in the alcoves of the internet somewhere. So we don't want to come across as stalker like. We do want to personalize though. So it is important to personalize your connection invitations when appropriate, but it needs to be just the right amount of personalization. You don't want people to think that you've stalked them for weeks or months, unless it's somebody that's a big personality and you're trying to get on the radar of an influencer. You probably should know a lot about them. But for the rest of your, most of you, for the rest of your target audience and your clients and prospects, you don't need that much personalization. So, jump starting a cold conversation on LinkedIn does not have to be complicated when you just act like a real human being and not a bot. So, I believe that LinkedIn is the most powerful tool for you to connect one to one with your ideal clients and your potential customers. And today we're going to talk about a few ways that you can start warming up these people in your DMs and how these awesome conversations can actually turn into new business for you. So I hear you. I hear you. Okay, Mindy, I get it. I need to be the one to start these conversations that are going to lead to me booking more clients, but I really don't know where to begin. So, first, you're going to be human. All right. We're not going to take any bot like communication. We're not going to take the cheater's way and just use some template we found on the internet. So, what I want you to do right now is when you meet someone in real life, how do you start that conversation? I want you to think about that for just a moment. Like, okay, when I meet someone in real life, what do I typically say? Maybe you're an introvert like me and you have to see someone like dozens of times before you say something. But guess what? That is okay. I'm going to give an example here while you're thinking about this. So, I'm one of those surfers, I like to surf, and I don't say a word to people in the lineup. So, when I go to a new spot, so in surfing, there are spots where you go to surf. And when you go to an unfamiliar spot or you see a lineup of people you don't recognize, you are really patient and you want to be extremely thoughtful. There are unspoken rules in the surfing culture where you are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to catching the best waves at a new spot. If you are not familiar, if you don't recognize people, you watch and you pay attention. And this approach applies to LinkedIn as well. You watch, you pay attention, you look to see how other people are interacting. When you have a good interaction with somebody who makes the first move and reaches out to you, how does it make you feel? It makes you feel good. So that's the same reaction that you want to get when you reach out to others. So when I go to a new spot, until I've surfed that break for, a couple dozen times, and I feel like I understand my place in the lineup, hierarchy and localism are a big deal in surfing. You never want to like hot dog your way through a lineup and take all the good waves and hop in front of a local. Very bad idea. People will not let you catch waves. They will block you and they will do certain things to make sure that you do not feel welcome at that spot. So you are very, very thoughtful with how you approach a lineup. It is the same with your LinkedIn network. You need to read the lineup, especially as a novice when you are getting started on LinkedIn. Maybe you haven't done this for a while, you're a little hesitant. It's okay. Take your time to read the lineup. What I would do is I would actually look through all of my LinkedIn messages, maybe pick out a few interactions that you've had with people who've reached out to you. You've actually gotten in a back and forth and look to see what they did, what got your attention. Why did you respond? These are good telltale signs that you can actually probably pull into your connection invitation as well. So, this is something to apply. Read the lineup, learn how to message on LinkedIn. Look at good messages, look at bad messages, and figure out how you want to approach your own network and people that you want to reach out to. So, less is more on LinkedIn. You don't want to send something verbose. You don't want to send something that is, written in academic language. It should feel very conversational. You want it to feel like you are disarming the person when you reach out because you don't want people to be on guard. A lot of times on LinkedIn, people are on guard and they're afraid you're going to pitch them or spam them or send them something they don't want. So, what you want to do is you want to make sure to disarm them right away with your message. So you can learn a lot about someone before you ever get into the LinkedIn messages with them. And once they respond to your message, you're going to learn which direction you want to go with the conversation. So I'm going to share a few responses that I tend to notice. So here are some responses. When I send the connection invitation, sometimes I'll get a response like, thanks for connecting, but I really don't want to talk to you anymore. So if you get a response like that, that's fine. Just kind of leave it as it is. And then sometimes you'll get a response like, what do you sell? I might actually be looking for someone like you. And this is a great response. We typically like these because we get to talk about our offers right away and people are really interested. So we probably caught them at a good time when they are thinking about the services that we offer. So in that case, you can take it right into a sales conversation, no problems. Sometimes you'll get a response like, how did you find me? Like, this is a little bit creepy, or how did you know to ask that? So, when you get a response like that, you want to make it kind of fun and lighthearted. So, an example here is I actually will sometimes go to events and I will take screenshots of people that are in the Zoom room. At an interesting business event, and I will reach out and say, hey, I saw you at this business event. Some people may find that creepy. Most people that I reach out to find it quite entertaining. They're like, wow, how did you find me? I didn't even turn on my camera and you found my name and then looked me up on LinkedIn and reached out and tried to start a conversation. So most people find that quite entertaining and kind of clever. So just kind of think about your audience and how they would respond, but make sure to not make it feel creepy. But you can let them know that you did your homework. That is totally okay. All right. And sometimes you'll get a response like, let's talk shop. I love meeting new people. So the extroverts out there, a lot of them are really happy to hand out their Calendly link. It is up to you if you want to respond to them and hop on a discovery call. Sometimes they are a waste of time. I'm really protective with my calendar. I do not have calls that are not leading to revenue or sales or speaking opportunities. Like I just do not have the time or the inclination to have meet and greets. But if you are relatively new, maybe you are testing a new market. Maybe you just need to get into some conversations to feel comfortable. This is a great opportunity to just hop on, have a quick chat, and probably make a new business buddy. So this is a great opportunity for you if you don't mind having calls and your calendar is not inundated yet. Sometimes people will say, I want to tell you all about myself. And they just go into like their own sales pitch about themselves, their business, what they're doing now. And oh, here's a link. Do you want to get on my list or hop into my program? Those types of people, I usually just, give a very kind answer and thank you for sharing, but I try to move on because I feel like they're just the type that would probably just pitch me in return. So these are some different things to think about as you are getting responses and how you would approach these different situations. So you are using your knowledge every time you hop into your LinkedIn DMs. You are using your knowledge to read your own lineup. So you're reading the lineup with your network so that you can get better at crafting responses that lets people know you've done your homework, you belong in their network, and you're a great person to message. So that's all it takes. It sounds really simple, but in reality, it's like, oh, well, Mindy, how do I actually start that conversation? What do I do to keep the conversation going? How does that look? So a lot of times we try to jump the gun and get there too quickly. And what we need to do is we need to test. So you are going to have to test at the very beginning, and we're going to jump into what this test can look like so you can start feeling confident and develop your LinkedIn muscles in feeling confident in how you're reaching out and connecting with people and actually getting new business from these conversations. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 steps to getting the conversation. So let's talk about exactly what it takes to turn those cold messages into great Zoom calls using LinkedIn, and how to actually go about crafting a high converting outreach message. How to set up your LinkedIn outreach process so you can actually fill your sales pipeline the mango way. Did I mention that I love mangoes? All right, so number one, put it on the screen here. First of all, before you start reaching out, you need to think about how many conversations do you want to have each month. You need to figure out exactly who your perfect client is on LinkedIn, and it may be different from other channels. So just keep that in mind. You'll then need to do some research to figure out how many of them are on LinkedIn. So if you have a very broad market, this may not be a concern. For example, if you're targeting marketing agency owners, you're going to have a year's worth of target prospects on LinkedIn, probably many years worth of target prospects on LinkedIn, depending on do you want to work with people who have a big marketing agency or a small agency. But if you have a narrow market where you think that your perfect fit clients are probably less than 1,000 people in total, you will need to be sure that you take your time with your outreach message, because there are not as many of them on LinkedIn. For example, if you're targeting Fortune 500 companies, your market is going to be a lot smaller. You are going to need to do a lot more account-based marketing where you are getting connected with multiple people within the organization. It's going to be a bit more complex. So I like to do an addressable market assessment for most of my clients, and those people that I teach inside my accelerator programs how to easily run this assessment, because this gives a more accurate sense of how many months or years worth of target market runway you actually have inside of LinkedIn. Basically, you need to know how big your audience is and how many conversations you need to have each month to generate the necessary revenue for your business. If you are just brand new to this, you're getting started, you have a new offer, a new audience, or something has changed there, you're going to have to just have an initial 5 to 10 conversations to figure out how many of them you can actually close. For seasoned business owners that I work with, most of them know what their close rate is. I would say the majority of them, they can close at about 70 to 80% of the calls that they have. So as long as they're getting, X number of calls, most of them it's 5 to 10 calls per month, then they know that they're into the sweet spot. Some of them have a long sales process, so it does take time. So as long as there's a steady flow, 5 to 10 calls per month, they feel that they are confident in the amount of revenue they will have in their pipeline at all times. All right, so moving on to step number 2. Now let's talk about responding. Like, how do you respond? You've sent that initial connection invitation. Remember, we went through the process of getting into their head, figuring out what they would respond to. We've written a connection invitation. And I will actually link to something as well in the episode here, so you will have it. Like, if you're curious about how to write a connection invitation, I have done a separate live on that. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but it comes down to really knowing your target audience and what they're going to respond to. If you already have existing customers, then think about the types of messages that they responded to when you reached out to them, however long ago that was. So you're going to want to pay attention to the themes, the problems that you help them solve, and also how you can break the ice to start that conversation. So if you have messaging that you can look at in the past, that's great. Look at that messaging and see what worked, because you're going to pull that into your LinkedIn messaging. Now, if people tend to come to you by referral, then what does that referral partner say about you when they introduce you? That's a really good thing to think about, because those are the messages and that's the wording that you're probably going to want to use to respond to people when you are going into the DMs on LinkedIn. So I actually listen very closely to the keywords and how I am described by someone who refers business to me, because there are clues that I use from that message in my cold outreach. So it's really, really helpful. You're always paying attention to messages and how people find you, how people reach out to you, the way that they describe their problems, especially if you have coaching clients. Listen to the questions they ask you, transcribe all of those calls just for your own purposes, so you can understand why people come to you and what problems you help them solve. So do you share any similarities with the types of organizations you're a member of, or communities that you both belong to? These are also gold when it comes to messaging, because it gives you an easy way to start a conversation that feels natural. And if it's meant to continue beyond those pleasantries, like you send that connection, you connect, maybe that's the end of it, but maybe the conversation keeps going. That's fine. like you've at least added somebody to your network that's a good business friend. Some of those conversations are going to keep going and you're going to notice some synergy there. Also, do you have a podcast or a show or a blog where you interview experts like your potential prospects? If you do, it's a very natural way to start the conversation by inviting them onto the show or to be a potential guest. And it does not have that salesy feel to it because basically you think they'd be a great guest and contribute their insights about the industry. Plus, you get a bigger audience in return. So it all depends on your target audience. And you have to figure out what gets their attention without feeling like a sales pitch. So get their attention without pitching them. All right, moving into the final step here. How do you refine your process to get more conversations? You have to test. That's the reality of it. You have to test your process. So you literally need to research 10 people that are perfect fit prospects and test your messaging over the course of 30 days. So you go onto LinkedIn, you research 10 people that would be a good prospect for you, and you're going to send messages. For the next 30 days, you're going to send connection invitations to them. You're going to pay attention to how they respond. If it's crickets, you might need to send to another 10. So keep that in mind. 10 people over the course of 30 days. So you're going to measure your results to see what works. If your sales process, keep in mind, if your sales process is longer, like if you sell a bigger ticket item and they need multiple conversations or there's multiple stakeholders and your sales process is longer than 30 days, then you may need to simply pay attention to how many conversations, first conversations that you have during that time frame, as opposed to how many clients you closed during that time. Some of you who have a longer sales process, this does take a little bit longer. So maybe not 30 days, maybe you want to try something for 90 days to give it a good go. So then you're going to figure out a cadence on LinkedIn of messages that will work for you ongoing, that will help you determine the number of conversations you need to fill your pipeline. So basically, you're researching the number of clients. You're starting with 10 for 30, 60, 90 days, however long it takes you. You're reaching out, you're having DM conversations, you are hopefully having some phone conversations in there. If you are not getting any phone conversations, then something is off with your LinkedIn messaging and you will want to troubleshoot this. So I work with people inside my LinkedIn Accelerator programs to figure out every single step along the way and how to actually assess the results that they get over this 30, 60, 90-day period to understand which levers they need to pull to improve their results. So if this is something that you need additional help with, you can message me. I can share more details, but just keep in mind, it's all about experiments. Once you get into a good rhythm with your LinkedIn outreach, you just rinse and repeat. So I have worked with clients who keep the same rhythm for several months, some for like 1 to 2 years before we change anything, because you don't mess with a system that's working. So turning cold conversations into new clients using LinkedIn can be as simple as you want it to be. Kind of recapping what we've talked about today, you don't have to have a massive network. You don't have to post a lot of content. What you do need to do is you need to be the first mover. So you are the one that is reaching out first. You're thinking through that connection conversation. You are responding in a way that makes sure that you understand them and that you keep the conversation going in a natural way that leads to a Zoom call, that leads to a more sales focused conversation, or having them on your podcast, or just getting to know them a little bit better. So we didn't actually get into what to say in this session today, but just understanding the process is going to empower you to start running your own experiments, start reaching out, stop relying on inbound on LinkedIn to get the predictable revenue that you want for your business. So the goal from today is for you to start getting conversations on the regular from LinkedIn, whether you want about 5 to 10 a month or more, if you really enjoy social selling and have a lot of time on your hands. So what additional questions do you have about getting new clients on LinkedIn? Leave them below in the comments or shoot me a private message. I am happy to answer them. And if you're looking for that extra edge in figuring out how to start getting new clients on the regular from LinkedIn, you'll definitely want to join me inside of the LinkedIn Accelerator. If you are watching this live, we are open till this Thursday, July 14th at 11:59 p.m. Here is the link where you can find more information about this 1-week experience. I'm really, really excited. You can also DM me if you have questions about what's covered or you want to make sure that it's the right fit for you. All right, that's it for this week. I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and my inbox is open if you want to message me directly. Bye for now.